Not that it's going to be bad for them, but they've lost a bit of steam. They've got the cup final coming up. And for Tottenham, I don't wish ill on anybody, but Conte's recuperating at home again in Italy. And every time he's been away from it recently, they've won.
Right.
And when he pitches up, they lose and they've been bad. So maybe even when he's feeling better, and we hope he is, he might just need to sit in the sofa at home a little bit more and let his assistant do the job for him.
I'm sure he'll do that. I'm sure that'll be no problem. Nedum, have we not given Spurs enough love?
No, I think they get the love when they deserve it. You know, I think when they do something good, like that was a great ball by Højbjerg, obviously to play it to Davies, who was then going to play the ball through to Emerson Royal, because that's the way we all drew up in terms of how they're going to score goals. So they do get I think they do get love when they do deserve it. But I think in this game today, they've obviously ended up winning 2-0. But that first half was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't seem like they were really going to be breaking them down. So we can't necessarily get too excited. And West Ham, for as much as they are a good football club, they're in the bottom 3 right now. So they're hardly inspired themselves. But in fairness to them, they've snuck into the top 4 now, just at a point where Newcastle seems to be heading in the wrong direction. But I think there's still that energy behind it from Liverpool as well. They're the hardest team to just let go of and just accept they're having a failing season because of the quality of players that they do have in there now and to come back in. But as long as Spurs can keep just winning these games, just finding a way to get results, then fair play. But I'll be very interested to see how they do once they're back in Europe again and playing those Thursdays, Sundays with a squad that's a bit thinner now, especially with people like Bentancur being out, Sessegnon being out for a few weeks. But they're poised right now. They're looking up, and for as much as, say, the top 3 looks a million miles away for them, all they need to do at the moment is finish ahead of Newcastle, and it feels at this moment in time that they do have the chance to do that.
How dare you, Nedum? They're in the Champions League Thursdays. They just played Tuesday.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Sorry, my bad. Excuse me.
Disrespect.
It's what I'm used to. I apologise. Sorry, guys.
Tottenham. Yeah, it is funny because it's Spurs and because of the way they play. You don't quite get as excited when they're playing them than maybe Liverpool, Newcastle, or of course City, Arsenal, and United as well. But they're getting it done.
They do, and I think they falling in between some different chairs. On the other hand, everybody loves new kids on the block, being Newcastle. Wow, we have another team who can compete up there, and with the owners and the resources, they could be the next big thing. On the other hand, then you have Chelsea and Liverpool's failure. So Tottenham somewhere being there behind. So I don't think it's more that we are so aware of the other stories of the league that Tottenham are doing their stuff and they have so many good players. And Craig was mentioning Højbjerg there. What a player he is for Tottenham. You have Son, Kane. You have people who can score goals. So I don't think it's a lack of love. I think it's more like a lack of attention, if I may say, in a romantic way.
Oh, no, that's very romantic.
Well, we're not allowed to give love to anybody in this show. It's just...
Well, you just gave a lot of love to Arsenal.
Did I?
Yes, you were really lovely to them. And Manchester United.
Right, do it again. Let's have a do-over. Right, the thing is with Spurs, right, here's the things with some of the other teams, and pretty much Newcastle weren't in this category until lately, but City, Arsenal and now United, you kind of know what you're getting.
Right.
And Newcastle you did to an extent. The rest of them you just don't. You just don't. I mean, you've got Liverpool, you have no idea. It's so hot and cold, more cold. Tottenham, it's supposed to be about the defensive stability of the Conte side. But they go to Leicester a week ago, and OK, Leicester have been playing better, but we went through the goals. They were all over the parish. I mean, it was so disorganised. So it's really difficult to tell from week to week which sides are going to turn up in terms of the chasing pack. But at the moment, Tottenham are in a good position because, you know, the squad is decent. They have got some players out, as Nedum mentioned, but they've got 1 or 2 to come back, and they might just squeeze in, but my God, they're all very inconsistent.
Tottenham then, battling for a place in the top 4. West Ham, meanwhile, sit in the relegation zone after we saw the results that happened this weekend. They're 1 point away from Bournemouth. It's interesting, Nedum, every time we talk about the who's going down, no one mentions West Ham because everyone says, oh, they just get enough points. At the moment, they're not.
No, not at all. I think the run of form they've been on has been terrible, but they've been mostly down there throughout the season. And I think you can see from the game today that, you know, they're okay, but then they're not really scoring the goals. They're not finding ways to create tons of chances and be able to take those wins. And there's this belief that they'll just get themselves out of it. But, that's 23 games in. There's still some time left, but they're trending in the wrong direction to be down there. Because when we think about teams who are struggling in the Premier League, we'll talk about Southampton, we'll talk about Bournemouth and the like. But West Ham's form at the minute is as bad, if not worse, than some of those sides. So I think they're in a really, really tough spot because you look at the players that are out there, there's not that much room for change, but then something needs to happen. They need to find that spark. Again, today wasn't the best of games, but then it still ended up losing. And I think they'll be disappointed thinking they could have gotten more. But is this what their season's like? They think they play well, but they don't score enough goals, perhaps. Well, they need to address that if they're going to have a chance of staying up in the league this season.
You stand on West Ham.
Can't believe this is more or less the same side that went toe-to-toe in the semi-final of the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt. It's an amazing downfall, almost like Liverpool in a sense, who were going for the quadruple last year. There's no doubt, there's a lot of people calling for David Moyes' head. I think that would be the wrong move at this moment in time. I mean, if they want to do it in the summer, then that's up to them. But I think he's been there, seen it and done it. And I think ultimately, whilst they're in a relegation fight, I think they've got good enough players that they will stay up. But it's just not very pleasing on the eye either. Sure. Now, when they were being successful, part of their success was they would get good width, they would get it wide, crosses in the box, the physical presence, and Souček coming in from the middle of the park, backed up by Declan Rice on the edge. He would get his quota of goals, but they just don't look like getting enough goals at the moment. Yep. Scamacci is in there. Mikel Antonio played today. They have had one or two injuries in that position, but they just don't look like creating a lot of chances. And when you're not doing that, and you're also not as solid at the other end, clearly that's a huge problem. And
they got away with another handball, didn't they? We'll be talking about that tomorrow.
Not as bad as the one from last week.
We'll talk about that with Mark Clatterberg tomorrow. Just a reminder, Extra Time, as always, available over on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out. Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.